Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Friday show. We made it through another week. Another week down. First week of Christmas. Pretty crazy. Time's flying by. Let me jump into this. Welcome to Break the Cycle with DSD. I am your host, Duane. I am not a therapist, nor am I an attorney. I'm an individual much like you who's gone through a difficult experience and had to develop some tips. Maybe I did have to develop some tics to get through all this. Anyways, develop some tips and techniques that I use to help me, that I share with you to help you get your life back, break the cycle of emotional abuse, and strengthen the relationship with your kids. Remember that only a licensed professional can diagnose a person with a personality disorder, so just be careful throwing that around because it can get you in trouble and hurt your credibility. And that's pretty much the main thing we have when we go through this, and as soon as we squander that, it's an uphill battle from there. If you want to support what we do here, you can do that by becoming a channel member, and you get special badges, custom emojis, name listed in the credits, member-only events. There'll be one, it's Friday, so there'll be one tomorrow. I'll post in the community tab on that, and access to the member-only Discord. The Discord does have a more public area as well, so it's not all of it's not hidden behind a wall. If you want to get notified whenever the show goes live, you can text DSDLIVE to 844-598-0012, 844-598-0012. And if you want to participate in today's show, you can do that by dialing 1-424-373-5483 or 1-424-DSD Live. On that, oh my gosh, like I said, hopefully you guys are doing well. Made it through another week. Now I'm curious, how in the heck have I run through the morning music on other days, but in the last couple of shows I've been able to finish on time and get my timing different. It's crazy. But there it goes. Music's done. Anyways, so I had as some of you guys know, because I mentioned it the other day, I've been trying to relearn some of my old programming stuff I used to do so I can try to automate some tasks that's mainly associated with YouTube. I've been having a hell of a time, but fortunately, some of the members of the community are code developers. And then even a smaller subset of that are members of the Discord. So I had someone reach out to me the other day saying, hey, if you need some help, let me know. And we were having a conversation primarily about Python and trying to interconnect with the YouTube APIs, which I know for most people, you're like, okay, whatever. There's a point to this story. And that is one of the things we were discussing amongst API calls and known problems with that they were able to find to tell me that I wasn't losing my mind. So that was good. But the thing the thing that we were discussing that I thought would be relevant, let me see if I can pull it up. And it was about how your perspective changes over time once you start going through this experience. What I mean by is a high conflict, toxic divorce, and custody battle. And the deal is, or at least for me, the person I was talking to had said the same thing. And the underlying comment was, my perspective on what's important and what I stress about has changed since being involved in this situation. And that is one of the benefits that I think we get out of this. And when you're in the first part of it, when you're starting this out, the idea of there being any benefits to this nightmare of a situation is hard to fathom. I know whenever people would say it would get better or things would change, when you're in that immediate pain, it's hard to see a pathway through that. But what I've noticed, and what I've noticed with a lot of people who I've communicated with or talked to over the years through the channel, is it's a reoccurring reality theme that you just reevaluate your life. Now for me, what I used to be a very stressed and anxious person, constantly worried about everything, in this state of fear almost on a daily basis. And since all this has happened, it's really changed what I consider really important. And the reality is there really isn't much that's really important. It's like once you start going through this and you realize, holy crap, the things that you took for granted, access to your kids, your financial security, it's like everything that you used to worry about before, it's like, man, I mean, it's like, it's what's really important. And I mean, this even has affected the way I approach work things. I used to get so wrapped up on things and get stressed about it. And like, oh my God, this has to be done at this time. And we did this wrong or we did that wrong. Reality is now I look at things and it's like, all right, how important really is this? Is this really worth, does this bubble up to the level of catastrophe that I really need to get concerned with? Now, sometimes the answer is yes, but most of the time, no. Most of the time, it just isn't. So for me, I had to learn to let things go and focus on what was truly important. Focus on what you can actually make changes with, focus on issues that really deserve your attention. And it really starts to calm things down. It really starts to change. Well, it kind of fundamentally changes your entire environment, because whenever you're not constantly worried about something or thinking that everything is a priority, you can slow yourself down and start to enjoy the day and appreciate things that before would just take, you wouldn't even take the moment to even consider. I mean, I guess technically it's kind of like, stop to smell the flowers or stop to smell the roses. Unless you're in The Walking Dead, then don't look at the flowers. But there's a lot of truth to it. There's a lot of truth to saying, hey, just take a breath and just think about, or not think, just absorb the moment, appreciate the moments that you do have. Now, I completely understand that not every time, but that if you're in the part of this to where you're like, look, I don't get to see my kids. I got this stupid false allegation restraining order against me. Maybe it's even worse and they've utilized a silver bullet or the nuclear option where they're levying charges against you or accusations against you that you've done inappropriate things with your children, which is just freaking evil that people do that. What I mean is to lie about it just to try to win. I get that, this, when you're in the middle of a firefight, it can feel impossible to how is this going to change? Because everything is super important. And there was a period of time when I was going through this, that's exactly the way I felt. The thing is sometimes it can take something truly catastrophic, like an experience like this, for you to really say, okay, you know what, I have to change. I have to reevaluate things and do things differently. Or like I said a minute ago, like for me, I had to learn to say, okay, you know, this, and this is not important anymore. These other two issues are really important. And that's what I'm going to focus my attention on. I'll get these other things done, but I'm not going to waste a tremendous amount of time worrying about it. Yeah, Will says, my counselor used to tell me, quote, one day you'll look back and think what happened was a good thing. I would say, are you insane? Now I can see what he is talking about. I've said the same thing. I mean, I'm spot on with your counselor. And sometimes I'm cautious to say that, because if you're still in the middle of if you're still in the middle of it, the rational and reasonable response is, are you insane? How am I ever going to look back and think this is a good thing? But I'll tell you, like in my situation, this was a good thing for me. Not for my finances, not for the path I was going, but I mean, my own emotional, spiritual growth, my peace, my happiness. And the reality is as I started to shift into this, I mean, maybe it's an age thing. Maybe when you get, you know, you've been on the planet long enough and you're in the rat race and you keep doing the same thing over and over again. You wake up one day and just go, man, I can't keep doing this. And that's kind of what happened with me. And I'm kind of, the thing is what the pivot point on this is that as the ex stopped being able to maintain chaos in my own mind, it made things worse because she was losing control, which ramped up everything because she was, in my opinion, desperately trying to get things back to the way they were before. You know, let's get things back to chaos. Let's get things back to this comfortable, chaotic environment. And it just progressed from there and just went to hell. Anyways, that's my rant for the morning. I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I did earlier. Tomorrow, I do intend to do a member-only event in the morning. So I'll put the link in the community tab for channel members. So watch out for that. So hopefully I'll see you. I'm thinking about, I'll firm up the time tomorrow or not tomorrow, I mean for tomorrow, later today. So I do have some work issues that I have to, as soon as this is over, I have to finish up the podcast stuff and then I actually have to go meet with my folks today. I've been directed to go I have to look at them in the eye, which is crazy. And the crazy part about it is we're in California, everything's locked back down. COVID's gone through the roof, and they are making everybody do this. I think I'm going to do it in the parking lot. That's what I'm thinking. I'll do that. Well, that was a weird noise. I'll do that and just have them stay in their cars so we can be safe. Let me just use this as a data point. I used to, when stupid things at work would happen, I would get really irritated. And I'd be like, this is stupid. This is insane. And I've just gotten to the point now, it's like, you know what? You're paying me to do a job. That's what you want me to do? Fine. You know what? Maybe I'll give you my opinion saying this is frustrating, or maybe there's a better way, or to ask a question. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to get wrapped up in it. It just isn't worth it. It isn't. I guess to summarize what I was talking about before, I've gotten to the point where it's like, I don't want chaos in my life anymore. I don't want stress. I don't want anxiety. And I know to a certain extent, you can't get away from it. You can't get away from all of it. I understand that. but you can pick and choose what is important enough that you're going to allow into your life. And I think you get to a point, especially from after this situation, where you just, you realize, nope, I'm not going to, I'm not going to go there. I have a friend of mine whose wife is, had a massive brain aneurysm a few years ago. And that was his experience that changed his perspective. He's like, you know what? I'm not worrying about this crap anymore. His wife now has, like cognitive issues. She's actually really lucky. I mean, she's, for the most part, she's can talk, she can move, but the mental capacity is messed up. And, sometimes she gets her dream states and her, real life confused. So it's been incredibly stressful for him, but he used to be another one of those guys that would get really stressed about work. And now it's like, whatever, you know what? I mean, some things, especially right now with what's going on and stuff, I mean, he's a little concerned about being put at risk, and because his wife is actually very susceptible to comorbidities for COVID. So anyways, I digress. Oh, Alex says, let me post this up. Alex says, what is the community tab? Excellent question, Alex. Let me pull this up. Okay, so if I can hit the correct button, let me turn that comment off, which did not work. So let me just do this over here to get this out of your guys' way, which still isn't working. Come on. There it goes. All right. So when you go to the main channel, or anybody's channel actually, and you go to their, you basically what you do is you click on their name, right? So if you're on a video, and like on this one, here, let me see if I can click into this. You got the DSD thing right here. You click on it, it would take you to the main page. Across the top, you normally have home, videos, playlist, community, and that's what I'm talking about there. Community memberships, I didn't know I had a store. Community. So you click on the community tab, and it's a way that I can post things to you guys, kind of like a Facebook type post. But I can also set this up to where I can limit who sees it, right? If it's public or if it's for members. So that's where that'll be. And if you're interested in doing that, then just check out the community thing. The lowest tier is $1.99, and every little bit helps. So I appreciate all the channel members, and it's one of the ways that I can give back. And what we've done so far is we do a video conference call. So it's not a YouTube video. It's just an opportunity for us to meet and talk one-on-one and see each other and do it that way. And I'll do it that way until that becomes, if it becomes not sustainable or if it's too many people or whatever. But normally it's like, I think we've had like 10 or 15 people in there. We just kind of talk about different situations and stuff. It's kind of cool. I like it. So, all right. Okay, I guess I don't understand that. Oh, okay, I'm going to highlight this just. So Will says, curious, is talk about Pumpkin banned when the show is not on? Oh, you mean, that's a good point. Way back when, in the early part of my relationship with Debbie, Pumpkin used to be a very reoccurring topic because there was a lot of drama going on. I would say it's not necessarily banned. There are still things that come up every once in a while because you have to deal with the crazy in your life. But I would say probably maybe it was like a year before the channel started the channel. We finally had a discussion and we're like, you know what? We're spending way too much time talking about the ex. And what happened is whenever, and it's too bad we should, that might be a discussion that when Debbie actually comes back on the show that we can talk about. And what I was saying is that whenever the triangulation started to include her, meaning Debbie, then it kind of re-ramped up the conversation, right? And it was one thing whenever I was being poked in the eye and I was just venting and complaining, so that when that took a tremendous amount of time, I mean, I don't want to say tremendous amount of time, but there was a lot of talk where that's what the conversation was about, almost on a daily basis. And then whenever that started to calm down and it pivoted back to where now the ex was focusing her wonderful pumpkin attention to Debbie, that fanned the fire, I guess, so to speak, on her, on the pumpkin topic. Here's the thing: what I would encourage everyone out there to do is try to limit the conversation, especially with your significant other, about your ex. It's so easy for your toxic ex to make them the topic of conversation every freaking moment, because there's always something going on. But I would encourage you to start trying to modify that, or spend more of your time talking about what you guys are doing. Or hell, even if you're by yourself, just start, like, give yourself a time frame. Like if you're irritated with the ex or something, and say, okay, I need to vent for 10 minutes, tell your phone to set a timer and get it out of your system. And then say, okay, you know what? We'll talk about, we're done with this until the next situation comes up. Now let's talk about, or let's start focusing on what we're going to do, or what you're going to do. Focus on, hey, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to look at the sunrise, or go to the mountains, or watch a show, or whatever, but good question. Sorry, it took me a minute to figure out what I wasn't following. I wasn't tracking at first. Yeah, so Debbie had said to Will, not banned, but it depends on circumstances, such as the topic pertains to something currently affecting schedule or something like that. Yeah, that's what we try to, it's more of, okay, so what's going on? We don't really, I mean, I know we talk about it, but it's not, it's a shift. I mean, back in the day, it would just be like, my God, you know what just happened? You know what, bleepity bleep, bleep, bleep just did. And, but again, it kind of goes back to the topic of the day. It's like, okay, so you have to address certain issues just because it's, it's real. But, anyways, actually, it looks like I have a caller, so I'm going to do that before I go to the next round of comments. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Duane. Goodbye, Tumblers. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Tums. How you doing, man?
I'm hanging in there, dealing with some weird issues the past week. I guess the past week, because I think I called you last Friday, and basically and I just kind of want, so it's going to lead to a question, because, and maybe this is a good question for your viewers.
Yeah.
So my ex yesterday, she's been acting kind of nice to me, and where
Right.
like we'll exchange her child. So I gave my daughter back to her, and then she'll hold her in her hands, in her arms, and just kind of stand there and kind of watch me kind of walk off in a way, kind of like I don't know, it's really weird how to describe it, kind of like in a nice way. Like, I'm like, why are you looking at, why are you kind of standing there looking at me walking away, like as my daughter was like waving goodbye to me, I was like, it's kind of weird. But then so later on that day, so I didn't think too much of it. So later on that night, and this was yesterday, she apparently messaged me in OFW. I didn't see it because for some reason I updated my phone and it's not updating me like when I get these messages. And so she called me and I was like, oh my God, what is it now? It must be the constipation issues because my daughter's been dealing with that the past 2 weeks for some reason. So she calls me, she starts like kind of yelling at me. And then I was like, what did she eat? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so I try to like talk to her in a calm manner. And then I was like, cause I get really concerned for her, like for my daughter's safety with her. Cause I don't know how crazy these people really are. Like, I would almost think like, depending on the level of craziness, these people will literally hurt their kids to just, you know, either to prove a false allegation,
right,
or to get your attention. Something so crazy, and I hope that is never the case. So it really gets me like kind of concerned when she calls me about that stuff, and I hear her crying in the background. So I'm like, she better not be like doing anything that you're trying to say it's about constipation, but it's something else. Just try to call me. So that kind of worries me, and I think like a lot of people, you know, this is like a normal thing when you're dealing with these type of people. So she called me and she was doing that, and then like I just kind of said like, can we FaceTime so I could see her, so that way I confirm like, you know, that she's dealing with this issue. So she was crying, and we spoke on the phone for about 15 minutes, and then it kind of left off on a good note. I was like, hey, you know, take care of her. Like, this is what you should do, like X, Y, Z. And give me a call back a little later to let me know how she's doing. It's not so much that I want to talk to my ex on the phone. It's just the fact that I do want to have that kind of communication where we can at least do that, you know, like on a normal basis when it's necessary. And I'm glad that she even allowed me to like FaceTime her to see her. So I was appreciative of that, and I told her, and I documented that in OFW, like she did a good thing by doing that. And so, but then later, so she calls me back and she's like, oh, she's asleep, and you know, she's this. I mean, she's doing better and all this stuff. But the way that she was talking to me was as if I was her boyfriend. You know, it was like in such a nice way that I'm like, it was really weird. I'm like, and then it got to a point where she got like a long pause, and you know, towards the end, and she's like, this is like the first nice conversation we had in a good while. And I was like, yeah. I mean, but she acted like nothing was going on with court because we're still in the middle of waiting for a final court order. Right. And I just like in my mind, I'm like, how can you act like nothing? Like there's no reason why we're not on a good terms because of what you did. You know, so it's like between yesterday and just kind of like the way she was with me, and you know, and then like kind of it was almost she was almost being a little bit flirtatious with me. It kind of went back to just her tone and stuff like that. But so here's my thing, because it's never genuine with these people. Right. It's never genuine with these people. So, and maybe this is, like I said, this is a good question for your viewers as well, but when they're doing this, I guess it's called hoovering or whatever, when they're doing that, is there ever a time that you can take advantage of, like, I'm not saying take advantage of them in a wrong way, but kind of maybe they've hoovered you and, you know, like that kind of behavior, you can kind of use that against them or to prove a point in court or something like that. You get what I'm? You get what I'm saying?
You can. Yes, you can. But there's a caveat, and here's the thing. Or here's the main thing. I would think of it like take somebody who has a drug problem or alcohol problem, right? If you're into that's the way I kind of look at these people, right? That they're our equivalent to a drug addiction. And being around them can be dangerous. Now, I have known people who can effectively, for the most part, navigate that and not fall trapped to it, right? Because the risk is they start being nice, they do hoover you back in, you lower your guard, or you give in to something or whatever, and then they use it against you, and then immediately go back to normal ramp things even up. So the reality is if you can have a semi-friendly relationship with your toxic ex and get some sense of co-parenting, then that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? The problem is that every time, see, the thing is I know where you're at, right? Because I was in the same spot. There was earlier in this process, there were times where I would actually talk to the ex. Never had a time where she was, well, that I saw. Maybe it was, but I was so angry, maybe I just didn't see it. But I didn't really experience the nice Hoover, so to speak. So, but see, the other problem with it is that most people who end up on this channel, we're all kind of cut from the same cloth, right? We're empathetic people. I'm not going to say we're all empaths or anything like that, but we do have, we do think about how the other people feel. We have a moral compass on what we would do. And the idea of being not genuine with somebody and playing them just to accomplish a goal feels crappy, right? And I'm sure that's kind of what you're thinking. You're like, well, if I can see how I could use this situation to try to make things better, but for me to do that, I have to pretend or put on an act to make this relationship go, right? I mean, that's kind of where you're at, right? That's kind of, yeah. So, I mean, here's the reality. In the big picture, in the war versus battle thing, that can be a strategic move that helps you out. It's hard because, unfortunately, what happens is these people force us to act in a way that we never would, right? I mean, the way I treat my ex now, because I don't talk to her, I stay the hell away from her. If she comes around, I immediately go. Somebody put in, shields up, I think, in the comments. It's exactly what I do. Right? I mean, because I don't trust. I've had so many experiences over the 9 years that every time I let my guard down, they or she will use it to wiggle her way in to try to basically drive a knife in my side. So, a lot of people are saying it's a trap, trappity trap, trappity trap. So, but the reality is, well, let me back up, because you just recently you had your day in court. Things went okay. She didn't do very well. So it doesn't surprise me that she's trying to reset the game and the control in a different way. Right? Now, most of the time what happens, or a lot of time, not most of the time, but a lot of time what happens is these people get empowered by the legal system. So they feel like, hey, I'm winning, you're losing, I'm in control, they all believe me. So you have to bow to me. Well, you had a really good day in court, even though your temporary order or your order hasn't come out yet. All indications is that she lost pretty bad. Went to trial, if I remember correctly, lost. So typically one of two things happens. Either they completely shut down and they ignore you, or they do what she's doing right now. It's like, oh crap, I didn't. And the sad reality is sometimes as they're thinking, oh crap, I lost. Let me hit the reset. Let me try to rechange the dynamic to cause another problem, not to fix the relationship or make things better or whatever, but just to give them a tactical advantage to turn around and try to attack you again. So you do have to be careful, but I think there are ways that you could use this situation to your advantage. Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's, and I know that to a degree it's what she's trying to do to me. She's trying to make me share information that potentially she could use against me in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just something so stupid that could be it's not even a big deal, but just the minor little things that they feel like that could add up,
Well, let me. Techmore said something. I just want to pull this up and basically says, "Didn't she withhold your child from you for months? Hell no, never trust that nice nonsense. It's a trap. Keep it businesslike." And the other thing I just want to say, which kind of dovetails on this, and I think a problem that a lot of us have, and I know I did too, is when someone runs you through the nightmare gamut, our machine, and then they do their thing, they play their role, and then it's over. Sometimes they come back and they're like, mine did do this. It was like, okay, I took everything from you. I tried to say you were a monster. I tried to say that you were just horrible human. I've taken every effing thing I can from you. Well, why can't we be friends now? It's like, are you kidding me? You freaking destroyed 22 decades of our lives. I mean, you're basically Satan. No, I'm sorry. I mean, I haven't said this to her like that, but that's kind of what happens is like these people, and it'll drive you crazy. It's kind of a form, not kind of, it is a form of gaslighting, where they just come back and it's like what you're experiencing right now. It's like, okay, well, I kept your kid from you for months and made you do all this and tried everything to destroy you, and that didn't work. So, okay, let's be friends. And it's like, and the sad reality is because we have kids with these people, you can't get away from them. I mean, if you didn't have kids, you'd basically say, you would be, I'm sure, I know what most of us would do. You would look the person in the eye and say, get the F away from me. Don't ever come around me again. I never want to see you again. If you come around me, I'm going to file a restraining order. Go away. But when you have kids, you can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I have my theories, and that makes sense. What you're saying. Yeah, she's trying to change strategy and just like trying to be a little bit more communicative because, we come from, I went through the ignoring stage of like, for 7 months, I wasn't able to see my child ever. If I ever messaged her, she would ignore me. And then the courts got involved, said that he has to have parenting time and, whatever. And then like her communication with me, she still doesn't even really tell me what she does with our kid. It's just, I'm the one that always shares the information. And I use that to my benefit. I mean, I really do. And it really works for me. I mean, when you compare two parents and you have one parent that shares information and the other one doesn't, there was, I mean, so to a degree, like, yeah, you can take advantage of certain, so it's like you're almost playing their same game to a degree. You can do it.
Yeah.
It's like, can you do it? You want to do it forever? Nah, I mean, it gets a little old, and you got to focus on other things in your life. I mean, you just can't focus on like fighting.
Yeah.
Like
well,
forever,
Right. I would say, and the sad reality is they don't stop. I have another friend of mine who's going through something similar, and he does have a semi-okay relationship with his ex, but the lady's crazy. I mean, she just continually does crazy stuff. It's I don't know. I think it's almost like having a pet rattlesnake, right? Maybe if the rattlesnake is full and you've eaten it, I'm not eating it, but I mean, if it's eaten and it's, that, I don't know why I'm using the snake analogy other than a rattlesnake's dangerous. And then it's your pet and you grab it every once in a while. Well, you always have to be on guard because if you make any mistakes, that damn thing's going to bite you and kill you. I mean, and unfortunately, that's what these people are like. I mean, they might be, oh, look at the cute little rattlesnake, all look up on their rock, all happy. Oh, how cute. Well, you better keep your eye on that damn thing 100% of the time because you never know when it's going to, decide, okay, I'm rattlesnake. So let me bite you now. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I think it makes sense.
No, I think that they are very vengeful people, especially if you're the one that left them, even though they could be winning and, or whatever, if they can feel like they can, if they feel like they can pull you back in to destroy you again, they'll do it. And so I just kind of feel like with her, it's just like, there's something that she wants, and I do think it has to do with like, she's preparing for the court order, maybe not going her way. She might be, like, she might not be getting the attention that she wants, or maybe she just like, maybe she was dating somebody and maybe they just broke up now.
Dude, and you'll drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what it is, right? Because they don't use any type of logic. I mean, the best thing to look at it as is that she's focused on whatever is good for her in the moment. And, it's like the other caller we had, the one, who has their exes in the States and she's in Canada. And, the guy that whenever he tried to, or, hey, I need to see my kid through COVID and all this stuff. And the only reason, all the discussions that we were all having, trying to figure out what the underlying thing, and nobody thought about it. The underlying thing was to be able to say, oh, look, I have my kid and I paid for them to come. So can we change child support? an emergency ex parte order to try to adjust child support. I mean, it's like you never know what these people are what's really going on. I mean, and everything you said could be true.
I know.
It could be an ex-boyfriend. It could be just trying to reset the baseline with you. It could be a Hoover attempt to try to, I've seen this too, where people I've seen this with some people at work where their ex-wives or their wives take off. I had one guy who worked for me. His wife left, basically cheated on him with another guy, left without the kids, moved out. The guy was lined up. I mean, to have everything. A month later, she realizes, oh shoot, oh crap, I screwed up. Oh, take me back, honey. Came back, and we're like, dude, what the hell are you doing? She let him back in the house. This time, effectively got him kicked out, got the cops to kick him out of the house, and ran him through the machine. And, part two, well, now they're back together, right? So you reset everything, and all the mistakes are gone. This next time, she was able to get custody of the kid. I mean, she just railed him. I mean, and it's like, you just got to be really careful because these people are not genuine. And as soon as you realize it, you just have to accept it. Holy crap, we've been talking for 17 minutes, man.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I don't want to take up. I didn't want to take up all your time. I just wanted to kind of get some.
Well, did that help?
Some perspective on it, and I feel like it does help. I mean, there could be multiple things why she's doing what she's doing. It's just a matter of I think the question is that I'm still relatively new to this, so it's like maybe trying to figure that out. But I think the second thing is how can we use that to our advantage? And you've answered that really well. And it's good for co-parenting. It can be good. Yeah. But as far as well,
the problem is you just
I don't know. I guess
you just can't trust it, right? I mean that's the sad reality is if you start lowering your guard and just anticipate at some point the rattlesnake's going to bite you, So I mean, it's like I guess to use that analogy, it would be just like, okay, if that's a situation, so you wear long leather or high leather boots so that you're protected. You have stuff protecting your body as much as possible. So I mean, you don't go in and flip flops and and shorts and no t-shirt to go grab your rattlesnake, right? I mean, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really appreciate it. All right. But thanks so much, and have a good weekend. Thanks so much, Duane.
You too, man. Thanks. That's man. It's I was just watching The Fifth Element, the part whenever he looks at it and it's a bomb, and he's like, it's it's like, no. It's not a bomb. It's not a rattlesnake. We have rattlesnake detectors. Okay. If you guys haven't seen the movie, then you won't even know my analogy. Let me look at some of the comments. Anyways, I just, it's so tough because we don't want to be in this nightmare, right? And this completely screws with our head because it doesn't make sense. The whole thing doesn't make sense. And then when they turn around and they try to act nice, and I have, I haven't, where is this? Let me see if I can find this. Have you guys seen my old video, Beware of the Nice? Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Beware of the Nice. This is an old one. Yeah, look at this. This is super old. So this is like the first few months of the video of the channel. This video right here. Beware of the Nice. Generally, when a narcissist is being nice, it means something bad is about to happen. In this video, I talk about how to recognize and protect yourself and how to utilize this indicator. Wow, 71,000 views. And that one, I look like such a dork in that picture. Anyways, if you haven't seen that, I would recommend you guys check that out. Do a blast from the past. All right, I'm going to. I do have another caller, and I know we're doing okay on time. So let me go to this one that says, I just want to follow up on the co-parenting that they are talking about. Hello and welcome to the show.
Duane, this is T Solo.
Hey, T Solo. Have you called before? How are you doing, man? Yeah, you have called. I see that. So what's going on?
I'm good. Well, I'm doing great. It really struck me when you was talking about the co-parenting thing, and all of a sudden, nice. I mean, my story is like everybody else's. I mean, my favorite saying is "same hell, different devil." I think we all went through that.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things that I find that I kind of consider my relationship is like North Korea and South Korea.
Oh, yeah.
We're kind of at peace, but there still is a DMZ zone, and somebody pokes over.
Yep.
And what I found is you just can't, these small things you can't really get mogged down by these little simple fights about dropping off at the exact time and all this stuff, because it just hurts you in the long run.
Oh yeah.
And it's better to have a couple issues that you say, listen, I'm not going to give on this issue, but I may give on these other ones, because I mainly play rope-a-dope in my relationship. I mean, I take it till there's something that I'm really dead on, and I'll take a stand. And
right.
I never trust these people. They will never. I mean, no matter how much they're nice, because it was such a shock to me, that we went through so much bad stuff, and this one day everything's fine.
Oh, I know.
And I'm in shambles, everything, and it's like nothing happened. So, and I always tell people going through this is like, I feel like a video game character. When you first go through it, you're level 1, you have no skills. But as you go through this mess, you start developing these skills that help you fight, and you get leveled. I say I'm a fully leveled up the character. I've got all my abilities. I know all the tricks. I know what to do. Don't get angry. Don't show emotion. So it's one of those things. Don't trust these people. You can be nice, but always have your head on a swivel. Always be prepared.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. You're spot on. And it's a weird way to have to live, but they force that issue. They force that on us.
And the sad thing about this, the guy I called a couple of days ago, and it really struck me. He was going like, he don't want to ever get back in the system. He don't want to think about it anymore. And I think that's part of the problem when you go through this. It's so traumatizing that you don't want to think about it ever again, and nothing really gets changed. It's like, because you don't. So with this show, and thank goodness for what you're doing, because I mean, you have no idea how many people you're helping daily that probably don't call in or don't make comments. But I know for me, for example, when I was going through my mess, I said earlier, you're my best friend. I listen to you every day. I'm walking, exercising, trying to clean my life up, and you were talking to me every day. There's so many guys out there who need that. There's so many guys that need the support, and it's just like, because we don't understand, because it's so counterintuitive to anything we've ever experienced.
Yeah.
I thought the legal system was fair until I got into it. And then you realize it's not fair.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say, and just thank you, Duane, for what you do, man. We'll never know how much good you do. I mean, you'll never know.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. Thanks for the call. That's awesome. I mean, it's not awesome that any of you guys are going, and gals, any of you guys are going through this. I mean, this is not the way that I would like to have created a community of people. But the reality is that, I mean, this is real. This is a situation we have to go through, and I appreciate T Solo. I appreciate you saying that, man. I mean, that's kind of the whole. The starting point. I know I've said this before, but every time it comes up, I get into the mode where I just like to reiterate this, and that's, I started this because I knew how dangerous this was for me when I was going through it, and how, I mean, there were dark days that I went through on this, and I'm like, maybe this silly little channel, I mean, 32,000. Oh, did you guys notice I went over 32,000? That's cool. Might catch somebody, late at night while they're by themselves. They've lost all hope, and maybe they'll run across my channel, my stupid little Beware of the Nice videos and all that stuff, and maybe it'd just be enough for them to go, "Whoa, wait a minute, this guy's talking to me. That story sounds it's super familiar. Well, if this guy could get through it, maybe I could get through it." And that's kind of been the premise on this. I mean, that's the reason why I haven't stopped doing it. So, yeah. Anyways, I digress. Okay, it looks like, no, that's See, sometimes my little interface thing over here does weird stuff. So, or not weird stuff. It's just like I have to like look at it to see what mode it's in. Wish I had the interface was a little bit better. Anyways, I do want to go back with one thing that T Solo was saying when he was on the call, and that was using the analogy of a video game. That is so true, right? For any of you guys that play, or any of you folks out there that play video games, I've been playing Fortnite lately. Well, not lately, probably for maybe 6-7 months, a year, whatever. Kids finally got me into it. It's like the only thing I play. I don't really play much, but when I started that thing, I had no clue what was going on with it. And I just, over time, you learn the rules, you learn the techniques, you get better at it. You calm down. That's one thing I've noticed. I do better now at that game if I just don't get myself. If I get stressed or something like that, I make mistakes and I lose. If I can stay cool under pressure, I do better. So I like that analogy. That was a good one. Maybe that was even better than the rattlesnake one. Though I like the rattlesnake one. I thought that was just funny. Let's see. Albert, my lawyer's money should have gone to you. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Skyrim. Scottzilla says Skyrim. My son plays Skyrim. I think my daughter might as too. I don't know. I don't play. They try to get me, my kids try to get me to play other games. And I'm just like, no, I'm not interested. And what I do it now is like, if I get really frustrated about something like that, like the other day when I was trying to do that programming stuff, if I get frustrated, I'll go play a round or two, and then it's like it kind of helps me reset. So, smart Alex, that's hilarious. Says, I agree 100%. You talk to friends, but they don't really know. This has been so helpful. Yeah, man, it is so tough because most people don't understand. And even people who, if people have been through it and they just muscled through it for their own sheer determination, a lot of times they come out the other side of this severely damaged. And I find that incredibly sad because you can muscle your way through this, but and then take the bitterness and the anger with you and have it corrupt the rest of your life. And that's one of the things I absolutely do not want to happen to any of you guys. What I want, and I know I say this a lot too, my goal for you guys is to get to the point that this channel's, it's served its purpose and you moved on with your life and you don't need it anymore. Now, hopefully the morning show is entertaining enough that you might still listen to it. I actually like doing this show too. Or maybe I can convert you and move you over to one of my other channels, like my camping channel that I haven't finished editing the video for. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that my goal is that you get to a point where you've been able to process through the anger and the bitterness, the resentment, and to really embrace the rest of your life and not allow this person to destroy the rest of your life. And I know I've said this before, but I've seen so many people, well, hell, like even my dad, my own father was so angry and bitter from this that it negatively affected the rest, everything. Now he's beyond it. But I mean, it took him into his late 60s to really get to the point where his perspective changed. Actually, it was really around when my whole thing happened. I think it brought up so much, my situation brought up so much past resentment and triggers and PTSD from his divorce to my mom that I think it just finally, he just had to get to the point where it's like, okay, I can't keep thinking about this and just letting it go and saying, F it, How much more time do I have on this planet? And am I going to waste it being angry about this? and I think that's the key. That is the key. So let's see. Cammie says, I don't understand how my kid is reacting to this because he hasn't ever brought it up. If you're talking about your child, here's the reality of our kids with this. And I didn't believe this at first, but the kids tend to think that all this is their fault, or they really put themselves in the middle of it. And I know, when I heard that, and I had multiple therapists tell me, and it wasn't until one of my kids, or I think almost all of them, said the same thing. So here's the thing. What I would say on that, Cammie, is just be open, remind your child that none of this is their fault, and just be available and open so that they can talk about it. Oh, 6 years old. That makes it even tougher. And just keep an eye on it and try to, if things seem, as he gets older, more complicated, consider, I know a lot of people don't like therapy, but one of the things I wish that I would have learned as a kid is how to process stuff to not just hold on to it. It would have been much better for me. So let's see here. All right. Oh man, we're like down to how much time we got left? We got 2 minutes. I'm going to grab this caller, but you're going to have to be pretty quick because we're almost out of time. So hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, Duane. My name is Linda. I'll be really quick. Kind of should have called earlier. I may have to call you back the next time you go live.
Okay.
But basically, I was the one that was, well, I'm actually still married to a covert narcissist, but I left 3 years ago. And when I initially left, I was living in the same state.
Okay.
My spouse is a prior service member. He did not retire. So I kind of always worked, lower wage jobs. Long story short, I did separate with the understanding that, this is toxic, and I don't want our children to live like this. And then at that point, he discarded, right?
Yeah.
So I lost my job. I started going to therapy and starting to get an understanding, and I lost my job. And I said, hey, can you help me until I find another job? Now, mind you, I was working literally 60 hours a week, paying all of the marital debt because it was in my name, because I had the better credit. Of course, he refused. So I kind of got left with $45,000 worth of debt and no job. So
Right.
I wound up having to relocate out of state, okay, because I needed a job, I needed something quick. And I had no one to help me. And like when you're in these type of relationships, you don't have friends, you don't have family,
Yeah.
you don't have support. It's just you and that person. Long story short, I have been gone now for 3 years, and I'm still in therapy. I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot. And my oldest daughter, she's grown, but my son, I have a son that's 15 years old, and my husband is the Disneyland parent. So even though I know that it's not the best environment for him, he doesn't want to live with me. He's very clear about that, right? So I have been thinking about returning because I want to settle this. I'd like to go ahead and file for a divorce and get this settled because he's not going to do it, and he has totally ghosted me. So for 3 years, I don't know anything about what's going on in my children's life except for the communication with my child. My question is very simple. I know it's a crazy dynamic, but what if I don't want to return? I'm thinking about it, but in my deepest part of my being, I really don't want to return because my son has already made it clear to me he doesn't want to live with me. So I'm kind of just going to be there sitting, waiting for an opportunity to be a part of his life.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know what you thought about that. It's a little bit opposite from what all you guys are dealing with.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and thanks for the call and try to answer it as I wrap things up. So what I hear what she's saying is that separated from the ex, the other parent has the child, and basically the 15-year-old is saying, I don't want to come back to you. Actually, this is kind of a very similar situation. And you're out of state. You know, you got to pick your battles, right? I mean, there comes a point whenever your kid is basically, you know, turned to the dark side, so to speak. And you have to decide, is it worth it to do a knockdown, drag out fight that's going to be financially devastating to what's your goal? What are you going to accomplish? You know, I mean, now some of us don't want to get to that point and want to fight that, and that's perfectly valid too. But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you. And oftentimes, especially a kid that doesn't want to be with you, they are going to make your life a living hell, and you got to decide where it is. Now, what you want to do with that. Now, the reality is, or your best bet is not to allow it to get to that point, right? I mean, that was my early stage. That's what I was focusing on doing, is getting to the point to where I didn't get to that point. And it was close. And let me just put it to you this way. Had the ex was able to move away, the kids were 3 states away, 2-day drive. Financially, I wouldn't have been able to go see him. And financially, I don't think I could switch jobs to move my career to be closer to him. What do you do? My choice is to be either angry, or it would have been to be just angry and PO'd for the rest of my life, or at some point try every avenue I could to keep a relationship going. And it sounds like she has some of a relationship with their kid still communicating with her, but you have to look at the overall field on it. And what I would say on that situation, if I was in that shoe, I would be like, okay, how do I continue to go on with my life? Leave the door open so that if my kid wants to have a relationship and a conversation or whatever, to be there. I mean, I wouldn't want to just be a bank account. So anyways, I don't know if that was that was a rough one to do right at the last minute. So, but on that, let me hit the right buttons here. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me on Friday. If you haven't thought about becoming a channel member, why don't you do that today? And then you can participate in tomorrow's event. I'm trying to line up some guests for next week. I might have somebody on, I don't know if Monday's going to work, but Monday or Tuesday, I'm kind of excited about it. It's a doctor from the UK who specializes in basically personality disorders. So with a lot of experience with this. So I'm trying to firm that up. So hopefully keep your eyes open for that. And then on that, I do want to thank all the existing channel members who've so graciously mashed that button to show their support. Even the lowest tier helps out tremendously. And on that, take care of yourself, guys. I can't believe the week's already over. And we'll see you back here on Monday, and for the members, tomorrow.